All right. Good day, everyone. Um, I want to apologize for coming in a bit late. Of course, we're scheduled for 3 p.m., but due to some upcomings, we couldn't come up that early. But of course, we had technical issues. But we're back now. I mean, we're still going to have our much anticipated event. Okay, the spotlight. Of course, we have our guest already in the building. So the chair for Irene. So I just want you to feel at home. You're welcome to the spotlight on Tech Build Africa. And of course, we're going to have an insightful session. So I want to implore you that whatever you're doing, you should keep the screen lit on. Okay, so we're going to have this time. So I have with me in the building, so I'm just going to introduce bring up Irene to join me. Hello.
Hi, Emmanuel.
Good afternoon, Irene. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I can see from your voice you are all motivated for this session.
Yeah, prepped.
Yeah, so I was just apologizing for coming up late due to technical issues. We were slated to have started by 3 p.m., but thanks to God and thanks to technology, we got a little bit delayed. But the major thing is that we are up and running, right? So, Irene, you're welcome to Tech Build Africa Spotlight.
Thanks, Emmanuel. Thank you for having me.
All right. So, straight to the point. So, this is the maiden edition. So, I think it would be just right for me to say what Tech Build is all about. So, Tech Build is a bold, innovative media that is supporting startups and tech stories across Africa. So, most of the times, we have discovered that a lot of the innovation, a lot of the startups, a lot of the projects in Africa do not really have that voice even when they are doing a lot in the ecosystem. So it seems that the ecosystem was a bit quiet, even with the lot of work and talents that is there in the ecosystem. Seems to be some quietness. So Tech Build Africa is a bold platform that is telling the story of these startups, giving insights about the growth of technology. And of course, we are ensuring that people hear the innovation that are springing up from Africa, because it's really massive. So if you take a look at the African tech ecosystem in the past 3 years, you will see that a lot has really been happening, from startup raising funds, innovations, and everything. And now people are really trooping in. There's a massive troop in for tech skills and talents, and we are even being exported right now. So Africa is a hot spot for technology. So that is what Tech Build does. So we promote all the stories that has to do with African technology. So Irene, we are very happy to have you on the platform as our well, I say number one spotlighted person on Tech Build Africa. So congratulations to you, Irene.
Thank you. I'm going to put it up on my wall. First person to speak on the Build Spotlight.
Okay. All right. So Irene, enough of myself. Okay, I didn't introduce myself. I am Emmanuel Amogu. Okay, I'm with Tech Build Africa. Of course, I'm in charge of community growth and content. So it's glad to have you here. So Irene, over to you. So Irene, we would love to know you. Our audience would love to know you, who you are. Apart from the fact that you're that all smiley and cheeky person on our flyer, they will really want to know the other part of the Irene. So Irene, over to you.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Irene. I am the global head of marketing at Fuzu. Fuzu is a career tech brand that's basically opening up the world of opportunities to African youths. I'm also the founder slash CEO of Revie, which is a travel tech brand that's basically helping young, upwardly mobile Africans, reach the world easily.
All right, thank you very much, Irene. So you've heard from Irene. Irene is the global head of marketing for Fuzu, and also the founder of Revie. So speaking of Revie, I think we're going to go to that pretty much soon. Okay, so I want you to summarily tell us the significant highlight of your career journey, because I see that you've really come from way far, and I'm sure you are still going to a lot more farther. So, can you just give us a brief highlight, summary, a brief highlight of your journey so far?
Okay. I think like for me, I will say there were 2 to 3 major points in my career that basically defined like who I became today. First was stumbling into this path because I always say that I stumbled, right? I had a job as an account manager, and like I watched this brilliant lady speak. Her name is Nena Onyewuchi. She became my boss in the end, but like I just watched a video of her, and it sounded like me speaking about my journey in 20 years. And I
Wow.
looked at it and I'm like, okay, now I know what I want to do. I want to be a strategist. And the journey to becoming a strategist was hard. It was hard because it's not easy. But I think like key highlight for me on that part of my journey was working with a lot of international brands or working with a lot of Pan-African brands to sort of help them build their brand or marketing strategy. Then the third like major highlight of my career was when I decided to move to client side, and I decided, oh, you know what, I'm gonna do tech. Okay, I didn't think about it like that, but I think like when I thought of where I would need to be, I know that I'm not a very traditional organization type of person. I'd already decided I wanted to just like continue to work remotely all the days of my life, and I'm like, where can I do this? And the
That's
only
really,
place that did this was tech.
yeah.
Yeah. So I chose tech, and that's what's brought me here so far.
Okay. I mean that's quite interesting. I mean the journey so far. I mean discovering yourself. I mean what the issues a lot of folks have is self discovery. So I mean when once you've discovered yourself, I think the road is just going to be smoother. So I think that was brief and straight to the point, Irene. So I'm very glad that you found your path and you're actually doing that very 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 well. So now with your experience in you mentioned you're a tech person. Do you code? I know, when you say tech now and the ecosystem, people expect you to be that coder person, that person that is always at the back end doing some wizardry stuff. Okay, so are you a coder?
Oh God,
What role are you
not
playing
a
in tech?
coder at all.
Okay.
Not a coder at all. Have zero coding skills. I tried
Okay.
at some point to learn it, but like I
Okay.
realized it wasn't for me. Um, it's interesting that you say that because I have a cousin who's into. He's basically working for a tech firm now, but he's working in a non-technical role. And
Okay.
he was having a conversation about applying for something that required him to have like experience working in tech. And he didn't realize he had experience working in tech because I had to tell him, hey, you do realize that technically you're a tech bro. You don't
Yeah.
code, but you're a tech bro.
Yeah. So that's in one of my writings. I was actually pinpointing about this issue. When people have the mindset that the ideology that being in the tech ecosystem means you have to be able to code. I mean, it doesn't have to be. After all, there are tech skills that doesn't require non-coding tech skills. Okay, I
Yep,
had listed that on my newsletter I do monthly. So we looked at analysis. We had a product management. We had a couple of them, technical writing. So you basically do not need a coding skill to be in the ecosystem. So you can always be
yep.
relevant as far as you know the angle you're coming in and what you're offering. So I think that works. So in your own aspect now. So what how are you impacting? How are you gaining your own relevance in the ecosystem?
I would say like a lot of my relevance is basically post production, right?
Okay.
If you think about the fact that as a tech company, right? So if you fancy yourself a tech company, what it means is that you're basically using technology to solve problems, right?
Yeah.
It's great when you build the technology, but what I keep saying is if nobody knows that you have the technology, it's not going anywhere, right? So the question then becomes, who are the people who are making sure that your technology is one, reaching the right people are using it, the right people are talking about it, the right people are recommending it.
Yeah.
In that case, that's what we're doing. That's the way that I, for example, am making my own mark in the industry.
That's great. That's great. Kudos to you. I mean, that's the way to be relevant, right? So, all right, let's move ahead. Let's move ahead. It's been interesting so far. All right. So, with your expertise in marketing and branding, would you say that every an average brand in the ecosystem is doing its bit in marketing and branding?
I would say what's in an average brand,
Okay.
but
Why I said this? So, startups and already established firms alike. So, would you say that they are doing their bit when it comes to marketing and branding?
I would say that I think that the industry is weird. So it's like a lot of people know the importance of marketing. A lot of people know the importance of communicating rightly. The only problem is I don't think that a lot of people are doing it rightly, right? There's this thing I realized that happens where people see one brand doing something and it works, and they're like, "Oh my God, that works! Let's do the same thing." But it's not the same brand. It might be the same audience, but they're not in the same space of mind when they think about you, right? So it's like they're not in the same mind space when they think about you. So it
Okay.
then means that even if you're targeting me, for example, the way that you target me with skincare products will be different from the way that you target me with um, project management products or tools like Trello, if that makes
Definitely,
sense to you.
definitely makes
Yeah, so I
sense.
think that brands need to actually figure out what works for them. I don't know that a lot of brands have done that. I think that, some people are trying to cut corners and it shows.
All right, all right. So very nice insights, Irene. Very nice one. So if we were to say, bringing it down to startups, most times it's always tedious and hectic to go about your own fresh strategy when you know that another brand is doing something that is working for them. So do you think it's totally wrong to like try to take out some points of there, like try to copy? I wouldn't say copycat, but I know a lot of brands do this. So if something is working for company A, it is presumed or assumed that it's going to work for company B. But most of the times it does. I wouldn't say it doesn't. So are you kind of cutting it all out that shouldn't be done?
No, so I don't think that you shouldn't copy, right? I think that you should own, right?
Oh,
So a lot of people, when they talk about copying, they talk about like stealing like an artist, right? And the
I
thing
like
is,
that.
yeah, and the thing is, if you think about the way that it works, there's no idea that's an original idea, right? But you need to find ways to make ideas uniquely yours.
And that's
If, for
creativity, right?
exactly, that's creativity. So the question is, how do you bring like the creativity into that? How do you then make your own idea? So we're all using the same channels, right? Channels don't change. Um, the way that you use the channel is what changes. So if you think about the fact that digital media is a thing and it's a channel that has come to stay, right?
Yeah.
However, in 2020, we saw Clubhouse come up, we saw TikTok come up, right? All the
Yeah.
brands might say, okay, we're moving to TikTok. But it's not just about, oh, every brand is writing an article now, so I want to write an article. The question is, what are you writing? Where are you writing? What kind of format are you using, right? What are
Who
you
are you
saying?
writing for?
Who are you writing for? Exactly. So it's like, what are all these questions that sort of help you figure out a way to be creative with your stealing?
I like the way you put that. Okay, so I think it's all about if I can quote you right, you said like no idea is totally new. It's not a big bang thing. So I think it's all about being creative in your marketing strategy and owning it. Okay, so if you're able to see what works for company A, so if you're bringing it to your own organization, you should be able to own it. Okay, put it in a way that works for you, your target audience, your product, and what you're offering, the kind of value you're offering. I think that works for me and everybody listening. All right,
Yep.
so yeah, let's go ahead. So we know we have over the few years we've seen a massive rise of startups getting funded and everything, the massive number of fintechs coming up and everything, innovation and founders and co-founders in the ecosystem. I mean, it's been very massive. What's your take on that?
So I think like, the reason that it's happening is because I think I'm going to speak about Nigeria, for example.
Okay, okay,
Um, we have always like pushed this culture of work till you drop, right? But then
yeah,
with the advent of technology and like brands that are making, so founders that have made it, a lot of people are then saying, look, all the ideas that we have cannot just die with us as employees, right? I don't think that
Okay.
everybody's meant to be a founder. I feel like some people will fail and that's okay, right? Failure is a part of life. But I think that I like the fact that a lot of young people are finding ways to then grow further. So before it had to be like you had all the money, your parents were like extremely rich, or you stayed in one job for like 60 years and then get to see but then retire 1 year later. But right
Yeah.
now we've realized that you can be 25 and be a
And you do your own
multi-billionaire.
thing.
Dollars.
All right. So I'm going to come back to that. But I think we have a question on the platform. So let's quickly do some justice to one question before we move ahead. Okay. I'm having here Grace Oluchi. So she is asking, with every limited resources, how can startups build their brand and what will be the key aspects of branding to focus on? Okay, with the limited resources, how can startups build their brand and what will be the key aspect of branding to focus? So if I'm able to break down this question, so we know that we just talked about the numerous number of startups that are coming up. So, and we know that even though they are being funded, they still have a limited resources to pull their innovation. So, how can they better have which key aspect of branding can they focus? Because it's something you can have a lot of strategy, but which key one can they focus to leverage on?
So I would say with limited resources, people have to become smarter. So generally tell people that the best companies are companies that have the structure of a big organization, so of a large corporate. So structure of a large corporate, brilliance of a small business. Think about the way that a lot of small businesses on Instagram sell. You're a small business, you don't have the resources, but you have 20 shoes to sell. So then you find a way to make sure that you're selling as creatively as possible. You're reaching more people through like mini pods. Like there are lots of things that these people do. So for me, it's how do you get the structure of a large corporate and the brilliance of a small business. Now, in terms of using your resources to build your brand and what key parts of branding you should focus on, I would say that the key parts of branding that you should focus on is the part that people see, right? So it's what people see, what people hear, what people feel, right? That is
Yeah.
specifically for branding. In terms of marketing, what key parts of marketing to focus on? Then it would be what first is like what are the key channels that you can use for marketing that will not cost you a lot, that will work within your budget but reach the people that you want it to reach, right?
Yeah.
Then what out of these channels that you have identified, what is the 10% or the 20% that will give you the highest impact, right? So it needs to
All
be impact focused marketing and branding rather than throwing things on the wall and hoping they stick because you have a lot of money.
right. Okay. All right. So I like the idea about having the structure of a big corporation and the brilliance of a startup. So yeah, so you've mentioned a couple of key aspects now. So that brings me to the follow-up question I had in mind. Okay, so I was trying to ask you what startups can leverage to boost brand visibility and their marketing strategy. So we're still talking about limited resources here, right? So what can startups leverage on? So we know that they are starting up, some have a strong backup, some do not, some have some fund, some have a little funding, some have a lot of funding, which at the end, if you look at it critically, is not still enough because we have different resources to settle. So what can they leverage on to maximize visibility and branding? What are those things you think these startups can leverage on?
So I would say if you think about the startup, I'm going to use Revie for example, right?
Okay.
When I started Revie, I knew that I wanted to bootstrap it, and I knew that it was going to be majorly me carrying a lot of the load on my head. It wasn't like I was looking for funding or anything, right? The
Yeah.
first thing that I did was identify key relationships that I could build to help me get where I wanted to go. So in terms of what startups can leverage, one thing is relationships. The reason a lot of startup founders attend events, or like a lot of startup founders attend like specific events, I need to be specific, so it's not all the events that you have to go to, is because they're trying to build a network of people like them, right? They're trying to build a network of people that they can tap into their resources. Sometimes it's not about the money, right? It's about exchange. So think about the way that commerce initially started. It's trade by barter, right? I give you something,
Yeah.
you give me something in return.
Yeah.
Which is why even when you grow and grow into a company that requires funding from like VCs, for example, one thing that they tell you is when you're picking your investors, right? Pick people that can do something for you. Pick people that will be useful to you. Pick people that can open up opportunities for you. These opportunities don't necessarily always have to be money, right? Sometimes it's just connecting you to the right person who can help you get something that will bring you something in the end, right?
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's like startups need to focus on two things. So it's relationship building, and then it's making like extremely smart decisions when it comes to spending money. A lot of people like to spend money or like set unrealistic goals based on budgets that they have. I think that you need to be super realistic, and then you need to think, okay, I have 500 naira, right? What is this 500 naira going to do that will give me the best return? Now it's different from every business, which is why I cannot specifically say, oh, focus on like social media marketing or something like that. No, um, it's different for every business. So you need to find what is like best for your business based on what you're selling, what you want people to do, and the people that you're talking to.
Thank you very much, Irene. That's massive. So I just want to relay what you have said. So the two major things, startups. I just hope I would have a lot of founders that and co-founders that would listen to this session, because I mean, this is a lot of insight, a lot of tips, a lot of expo coming up for the ecosystem. All right, thank you. Kudos to Irene. So number one thing is relationship building, or should I refer to building a valuable relationship. Okay, so now if I can expatiate more on that, building relationship, so I think it's all about give and take. Okay, so now many people see relationship as only taking, so they forget the part that you also need to give in to make sure that a relationship is working, is mutual. Okay, so as a startup, what are you giving into that relationship? So I think you should also avail yourself the opportunity of going out there to meet with other founders and co-founders, and even the big corporate world is a big world, so you go out there, make relationships for yourself, get into relationships that attract value. You can also give in and have some takeouts too. Then the number two, making smart decisions. Okay, I think that's really key, because you could have all the money in the world and then you lose it all in one bad decision. So we've seen big brands come all the way up and crashing to dust because they made one bad decision. So it's poor decision making is not something you want to be doing as a startup. As a startup, you want to be doing 80% of the right decision and maybe just a few percentage of wrong decisions here and there, because of course no one is 100% accurate. Okay, so thank you very much, Irene, for that insight. Okay, thank you very much. All right, so moving ahead, there has been a paradigm shift in the digital world as far as technology is concerned, and we know we used to hear of even when I was studying marketing as part of my communication studies. We dealt with traditional marketing. We looked at conventional marketing too. So now with the paradigm shift that has existed, would it how would you say that it has affected marketing generally in the ecosystem?
So when you say the paradigm shift, are you talking about the way that marketing has moved to, for example, the
Yeah,
digital
yeah,
space?
yeah. How the changes, the changes, how people have will I say transformed their marketing strategy due to technological advancement.
So I find it interesting, right? It's like one of those things that I love to see. Because I feel like for a while we were stuck on a lot of traditional methods. And if you think about the way that traditional methods work, it means that it's not a matter of how well you're doing it. It means that you just have to have the money to put yourself in the right places, right? The fact that we now have technology and like a guy in Sokoto is connected to me, for example, because we have LinkedIn, which means that if you did a LinkedIn event or like ran a LinkedIn ad, you could basically reach me, you could reach a guy in Sokoto, you could reach
Yeah,
somebody in the US randomly scrolling through his pages. Um, I think like for me, it's interesting because it has then opened up a new world. I have a friend who's doing her PhD. What is it called? A thesis? I don't remember what it's called. The thing you do when you're doing a doctorate.
Okay,
And
doctor,
what?
PhD.
Yes. So she's doing her PhD thing, and like she's basically like at this point dissecting the efficiency of traditional advertising versus digital advertising. And every single time we have conversations and we're trying to see, oh, what's going on? How is this helping? A lot of people always come from the data point of view. A lot of people say, oh my God, it's because it's data driven. But I think one thing that people forget is that conversion is not on the spot all the time, right? Most of the time, if you see something, if I reach you, for example, with an ad, or I reach you with like a piece of content, um, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be converted at that point in time. You might take some time off, you might go back home, you might, have lunch, have dinner. 2 months
Think
later, you're driving past and you see maybe a billboard or you hear a radio ad or you see another ad on your Instagram or somebody talking about me on Instagram. And then you remember, look,
that
I
you
wanted
want.
to do that. Exactly. Exactly. So I think for me, the data is good in terms of reach. So I think I tend to focus more on the benefit when it comes to reaching more people. It's just like now I don't have to have $1 billion to reach 8 billion people, right? I just
Okay.
have to be able to crack the code of like digital marketing to make sure that I'm optimizing whatever I'm spending and reaching the highest amount of people possible. In terms of data, all well and good, but I still think that there's still a lot to be done when it comes to actual data collection and translating.
Yeah, speaking of the targeting aspect of marketing now, before now, you have to like employ food soldiers that would take your product out there, and maybe your I call them food soldiers though. That's funny. So maybe the traditional media houses to do, and you have to spend a lot of money trying to reach your target audience. But I think with the advent of digital tools, you don't really have to do much. Like you could just have your PC in your room and you are targeting millions of persons. So I was doing this particular ad some the other time, and I found out I was like targeting about up to 100 million people. I was like, wow. So it got me thinking though, like how has it become so easy to like target people? So another thing is despite the fact that we have a lot of data statistics, I mean everything is data driven. So you could actually you have platforms that can help you to target people that are earning some certain amount of money. Like on LinkedIn now, you're able to target people in strategic positions in their organizations. I think you can even target organizations specifically now. So I think it's been a whole lot of a paradigm shift in marketing, so to say. So with the digital tools, I think it also helps startups to better compete with those big guns in the industry. So you don't have to say you're a startup. So you have avenues to be able to put out whatever you're offering out there. All right. So now I'm coming to a personal basis now. Irene, traditional marketing or digital marketing, which is it for you?
Digital marketing, please.
Why do you go for that?
Because traditional marketing, honestly, if you think about the channels, right, it's
Yeah.
less about conversion and more about awareness. So think about like the channels that people use. So for example, you do a billboard, right?
Yeah.
A billboard in Lagos used to be what 8 million naira. If I have 8 million naira, I can do more on digital than I would on and oh yes, another thing is I do the billboard, I spend 8 million, right? Billboards are
Yeah.
not exactly effective when they're in one place. So it means that I do just one billboard, I'm not going to get anything. I'm just going to get a lot of people say, look at that color. It's those
Yeah.
people. Think about MTN. Why do you think that you know MTN? MTN is in your face everywhere. They have the budget.
Everywhere.
They can do
Everywhere you
traditional.
go.
I'm not there.
All right, all right. Thank you very much. So I think if you were to ask me, I would say I love the data driven market, digital marketing. I mean, it's opened it has opened way for startups, especially. Like I know this startup that launched 2 weeks ago. So I'm not sure they would be spending all the money that they have been funded into marketing, because of course, though marketing is a priority, I mean, you have other things to do, you have people to pay, you have your team, you have every other thing. So all the funds can't just go into marketing. So I believe with some digital tools like Meta, you have YouTube, we have TikTok, now we have Twitter, and the rest of it, you can easily, and we have third party marketing tools. Terragon just launched, so a couple of them, I don't want to call names. So you can actually use this to better target people that need your services. And I think LinkedIn has been so massive. What do you think about LinkedIn as a place that startups can really, really maximize and leverage when they're coming up? What do you think about LinkedIn?
So I have like a slightly different point of view when it comes to LinkedIn marketing from like a
Okay.
lot of people that I've spoken to. I don't think that LinkedIn marketing is great for conversion for some brands. So for a lot of brands, if you read like the data, if you listen to a lot of the marketing experts who have spent a lot of money, LinkedIn
Okay.
hasn't converted with them, right? And remember that LinkedIn is purely professional. So it means that I have to be selling something purely professional.
Professional.
Like if I come on LinkedIn, I'm not looking for you to tell me, oh, I just bought this lipstick and it's red. The red, okay. How does that help my life? So I think that LinkedIn marketing is needs to be like super strategic, and it's also like not as great as some of the other platforms that currently exist. So
Okay. So if I may chip in something, so I would say it's purposeful marketing if you're using LinkedIn. So now, since we are having a more professional world in LinkedIn, don't you think it's an avenue for that would work for brands that have more professional products, like in HR, brands that do HR, or brands that do that have products that do with maybe salary payment, and brands that have a lot of corporate materials and products like that. So I think that works for them. So I think that's we would say that LinkedIn marketing is niche based,
it's
like it
niche based.
favors a particular niche. Is that what
Yes,
we're saying?
yes, I will
Okay.
agree. It's niche based, but also remember that the other platforms, the big blue guy, Facebook, for example, has spent a lot of their time building for advertising, right? So it means that they're building a product that is specifically made to be getting better and better and better for advertisers. LinkedIn is only just unlocking that. So I feel like they also still have a long way to go to making the
Okay.
engine better and like more responsive for guys who want to run ads or guys who want to convert. So yes, let me not delve into all of that yet, but I'll tell you later.
No problem about that. So I think so far we're making a lot of sense here. Like anyone here would be having a lot of headaches because of the massive value that's erupting. I mean, Irene has been blowing super hot here with a lot of facts. All right, so let's see if we have another question from the audience here. Okay. Okay, Cynthia just mentioned something about networking. So, networking and marketing.
Mhm.
What do you think about those? I think they are kind of intertwined, but networking and marketing. So, how can we leverage networking for an effective marketing campaign?
So every time I hear networking
And
and it's
sorry to cut you in. So, whatever we're saying, let's try to link it up to startups, because I really want to speak to startups here. Okay.
fun. I
All right.
think that when we talk about networking and marketing, right, I would say that think first I honestly always go first to like PR or event marketing because those are like two key networking tools that I know a lot of startups use. So um, with PR, you're saying, okay, how am I leveraging a network? Or, for example, if I have a PR associate at my startup, or if I am hiring like a PR firm for my startup, it then becomes how am I making sure that I'm hiring people who have the right relationships to put me in the right places, right? For example, I want to get on the BBC, I want to get on a CNBC, I want to get on a CNN. I'm trying to get international coverage. A lot of those things are, pitching, but also like pitching through solid networks, right? In
Yeah.
terms of reaching your audience, I think that networking is also key because sometimes you have opportunities for your brand to reach like more than one person at the same time, right? And I'm talking outside the digital network. So it's like, for example, if there was a if there was a, an if you had an event, for example, for tech startups that was happening soon, um, and you went as a Techbuild representative, you could
Okay.
talk to a lot of key decision makers in those places, and then
Definitely.
build relationships for the brand that can then be used to one either improve the content that
Sure.
you're putting out, create more avenues for collaboration and partnerships, and even get like advertising money from some of these guys. So I think that networking is actually like an important part of marketing, especially when you think about the fact that the new strategy that a lot of startups use is when you have like a co-founder, one of you has to be very public, the other one can be low key. But there's one
Yeah,
person that always has to be outside shouting and preaching your gospel and talking to every single person about you.
I can
And
see
what
that
that does is your brand becomes extremely strong because people are consistently hearing about you.
hearing
They're
about you.
consistently seeing you. They're consistently connecting. Yeah.
All right, all right. So I want to put you on the spotlight a bit. I hope you're ready. All right, so I just want to do a brief recap to the interview you had on our site on TechBuild site. Something you said. So I think that's your quote that beyond selling, marketing should improve brand perception and build memorable user experience. Yeah. So can you throw more light on this?
So when I was a schoolgirl, when I was in like high school and when I was in university, every time I heard marketing, it sounded like sales. I didn't want to be one of those people that would go out on the road and be begging people to come and
Begging
open
to
an
buy your
account
products.
or something. Did not make sense to me at all, right? That's not me. But I realized that even though we have sort of evolved and opened up our understanding of what marketing is, it still is sort of the same for people. You see a lot of founders having conversations about marketing, and the only thing they're thinking is, oh, how are we selling, right? But I don't think that people realize that you can prime people for selling, right? Remember that thing I said about conversion not being instant, right?
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
prime you for selling by creating a strong brand that you love, right? So if I make you see my brand as the kind of brand that you want to be connected to, if I improve the perception of the brand and basically build like brand equity in the market, what that means is that a lot of the people that I will be talking to in future when I'm trying to sell with my sales team are already prepped. So they have become warm leads. They are not cold digging, right? I've cooked the akara a bit, so it's ready to be eaten. And then in terms of improving user experience, right? People forget that what you want is for people to remember. How do you make
Agree.
somebody remember you? It's not only your on-platform experience that people remember. I'm not going to mention brand names, but I recently opened a business account with one of the new tech brands, right? And one thing that I found very interesting was I tried it with like 5 things. So every time I want to do something, if I want to invest, I go and talk to all the top 10. I go and find the top 10 list and I'll talk to every single one of them. And I'm looking at their experience. I'm going on their social pages and checking their responsiveness. So I'm checking like all these little things, right?
Yeah.
Now, this brand I'm talking about, I opened an account with them and a couple of others. I was trying to open, but like it was stressful for some of
Had
them.
issues. Okay.
Exactly. And me, guys, I also had issues with their platform, but in 5 minutes, somebody calls me and the person is like, hi, what's up? You were trying to do this. And I'm like, these people, that's the reason I remember their name. I remember their name because they called me like 4 times back to back to make sure like that they walked me through things, right? Now, if you think about that, marketing should also be doing that with the ads, right? With the message, with the content that you're putting out, right? Look at a lot of look at some of the more popular like media brands in Nigeria, right? Everybody is putting news out today, but there are some people who are putting news in an interesting way. And
Yeah.
those ones, when we see their link, we always want to open it because we know that these guys are going to give us something that we love. So for me, marketing then becomes not only about selling, but also about like building that memorability, building that distinctiveness, building that uniqueness, and basically making people remember and love you.
All right, all right. Well said, well said. So now, you were saying something about um, the brand you visited and a couple of brands you visited and tried to open an account with them. So I think what they did there was they ensured that the customer touch point is well optimized, and I think that's really good for marketing. Okay,
Yeah.
and now speaking of, I think we've not really talked about marketing funnel. Okay, I know that we have different. When it comes to marketing funnel, we have different, what I say, versions or approaches that exist. So, which one works for you, or which one would you think it's more would lead to more conversion and wouldn't have customers going out of the funnel even before getting to the conversion stage?
In terms of marketing strategy,
Yeah, the funnel, marketing funnel now. Yeah, under digital marketing, we have marketing funnel from the awareness and everything, having the desire. And some point we see that some customers would not actually go to the point of conversion. So how can what would be the easiest funnel for a startup to use to ensure that they convert most of the customers as far as they're paying money for the marketing?
so this is funny to me because I always have this conversation, and every time I have the conversation, I feel like I'm setting off a bomb, right? So you see how like when you're teaching, everybody's like, "Oh, I use AAAR, WWWF, TTTTT."
Yeah.
All well and good, right? And one thing that people forget is that we're all saying the same thing. Every single
Yeah.
person in marketing is saying the same thing. The funnels
Right.
have the same names, they have different acronyms, but they say the same thing. They
Yeah.
say that I have to get a user to see me, right?
Okay.
I
Yeah.
have to get the user to engage with me. I have to
Definitely.
get the user to start the journey. I have to get the user to finish the journey. I have
And
to get the
convert.
user to love the journey. And I have to get the user to appreciate it so much that they're like, oh, wow, my friend, come and see these guys, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about the way that funnel works, right, we have awareness, right?
Yeah.
We have acquisition, we have retention, and then we have like monetization, right?
Yeah.
And then Google's framework is see, think, do, care, right? So it's you see me. So this is what I'm saying. You see me, means you're aware of me,
I
right?
see
You
you.
think about me means that at that point you're like, you're ready to engage. You become a warmer lead. You
Yeah.
do what I want you to do. That becomes acquisition. You care about me is where referrals come in and monetization comes in.
And
So my
loyalty. You're
it's
satisfied.
exactly loyalty. So it's like all the frameworks are the same, right? Because if you think about it in the simplest form of it, if you want somebody to do something, right? You cannot just meet a person, do it, and say, bring out your phone. You're not a thief,
Definitely.
right? You will you meet the person, you say hi, you talk to the person, you make the person like interested in the conversation, and you're like, oh, can I see your phone? The person gives you the phone. You're like, oh, okay, let me give my Instagram handle so you follow. The person now takes the action which you wanted initially, which was follow me. And then when you start posting beautiful content, the person's like, oh wow, this content is so good. I'm going to tell my friend to also follow you. So I think like for me, the framework is the key, right? Rather
Okay.
than focus a lot on frameworks and focus a lot on talking about frameworks, I feel like we need to focus on actually like doing things, right? So a lot of people talk, and you're always trying to find the right way. I'm just like, oh, it's not the T is not no. Like, just do it. You need to get them. You need to get them to do it. You need to get them to love you.
That's cool. I think that works. All right. So we so far, I know we've had a touch point where we discussed startups having to actually be seen and having a co-founder that is going to make the noise and do the preaching. So I would ask you, which founder are you I'm sure you're the founder that makes the preaching.
That I'm the founder that does what?
Who does the preaching?
So it's funny, because I'm not exactly a preacher. I don't like to do things in silence. But I can't be preaching and telling people, oh, you're not talking a lot about what you're doing, and then I'm also not doing the same. So for
Yeah.
now, I'm the founder that is preaching. For now. But if I find
Okay.
somebody else that's going to talk for me, please take it away.
All right, so I think that so buttresses the point that content is king. Okay, now a lot of brands are leveraging on storytelling, which is very good because if you have the right story out there, I bet you that people are going to reach out to you. Okay, so I've seen a lot of organizations grow because they are telling the right story. So nobody wants to align with you when they don't know where you were headed or where you're coming from. So when people see where you're coming from and the vision you have, okay, they begin to align with you. So I think from even your vision, I think you can use that to start telling your story. Okay, I've seen a couple of big brands use the vision to uh, pick out their story. Just do it, and the rest of them. So I think it's really key. So do you stand with me at the point of content that content is key?
Yes, content is well. See, I'm not going to enter that something is king, something not king, but content is like super, super important because you know how some people
Okay.
come at the end, content is king, but context is queen or something. No. So I think like content is actually like super important. As
Okay.
you said, for example, you mentioning just do it. I feel
Yeah.
like they have tapped into that storytelling thing in
Yeah.
such a way that every ad that they do is like, I want to cry. It's like watching a romance movie and being a romantic. Like, it's like, oh God, I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to push. So I think like, yes, brands have to figure out like what tone of voice works for them. They have to figure out like where they stand in terms of like brand positioning. And then they have to figure out how do I tell the story in a way that people can connect.
That's great. That's great. All right. So I don't know if there is any other question because I think we are up to the point where we start to round up. Let's see if we have any other question here. All right, so just listeners for now, no more questions. So I think we can take a deep breath. And having a recap of the points, things we've said so far, I think I really love the aspect of relationships. Okay, I think that's one of the things that I try to do, even for wherever I see myself. I think
I noticed,
building.
I checked your LinkedIn.
Okay, he checked my LinkedIn. What did you see?
So I think like from your LinkedIn, there's certain things that you can tell. So I think like you can tell that one, you're trying to make sure that you're in the right places with the right people, right?
Yeah,
One other thing is you're also trying to make sure that you're having the right conversations. Um, in terms of branding, I always tell people that remember that your branding, so like your branding strategy isn't just for a brand, it's also for your profession, right? For yourself. So it's like in
definitely.
terms of professional branding, you can see that effort is being put in. And you can see that you're trying to build these relationships, you're trying to have this conversation, you're trying to be in the right places. And the only like it can only pay off. There's no option B, it
Yeah.
can only pay off. So well done. I love it.
Thank you very much. I'm flattered. I'm flattered. All right, thank you very much. So, if I can give a testimony to that, I would say that is actually working. I think I took LinkedIn seriously this year, and I didn't know that there's a massive potential in that platform. Like I used to see it like just another Facebook, but it's not like that. So what I've been doing in the past days, I try to get my acquaintances and colleagues to key in. Okay, and I think it's something that can really help even startups. So I've been reached out to by a couple of global brands and wanting to do something with us. So sometimes it must not be paid for because it's left for you to build that relationship. It's not about the money yet. So when you have that relationship, I'm very sure that when you start offering value, money will definitely come. So we keep saying chase value, give value, and then money would come. Okay. I think that's a strategy that works. All right. Thank you very much, Irene, for
You,
joining this
Emmanuel.
session. Yeah. Thank you very much. And I hope I'll be doing this with you a lot of the time.
I can't wait. Let's do this more often.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So, what do you want to say before we call this? Before we pick our heart, what will I say? Before we kill Alibaba, I wouldn't want to use the kill word online.
But before we kill Alibaba, I would say that if you're a brand, if you're like a startup who's struggling with, figuring out where you should be, how you should be positioning, how you should be talking, who you should be talking to, where you should be like pushing out a lot of your messaging when it comes to branding and marketing. I think that there are communities of people that are always willing to, have these conversations. So you can reach out to me, you can reach out, like, let's figure out a way to help each other. Because in the end, the reason that we're starting all these tech companies, the reason that we're pushing like a lot of these startups is to
Yeah.
improve the life of Nigerians and Africans as a whole, right? So we can only support each other. So, as we said, we're always open to collaboration. We're always open to having these conversations. So let's actually start pushing each other to do better.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much. That's great. Let's start pushing each other. Okay, so it's not about one person. When everybody's doing well, everybody's happy. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Irene, for showing up and then and granting that this session that it happens. And then okay, I know I bet you all the insights you've given here. I see a lot of founders who are attending this event. I believe that even with the playback, they're going to come back and they're going to see a massive ton of ideas that they can employ in their marketing strategy for free. I mean, this consulting should have been. I'm very sorry that you're not paying for this. I think this is something people spend money for, but I mean, you're doing it on a free plat of gold. Thank you very much, Irene. So I'm just going to call that point again: relationships. Okay, my founders, co-founders, and people that have businesses out there, please prioritize relationships very much. Networking, it would pay you. If not today, it will pay you in the future. Okay, and then make smart decisions in spending. Irene 2022. Make smart decisions. So I'm not going to forget this. Make smart decisions in spending. Okay, you don't want to be that person that just spends because you have the money. Because when the money finishes, I bet you're going to cry. Okay, thank you very much. So this is Tech
Here.
Build Africa Spotlight, and it was amazing to have all of you around to witness this interactive and insightful session with the cheerful and the insightful Irene gracing our screen. So I want to tell you that more is coming. Okay, we're going to be having this from time to time. Okay, from time to time. So I'm calling on every business person out there in the ecosystem, every founder, every co-founder, every person. If you want to be a part of the spotlight, okay, you can just reach out to us, Tech Build. Okay, and we would make sure we want to speak to a lot of brands. We want to tell a lot of story with this platform. We want to reach out to a lot of people who are creating innovations, a lot of people who are transitioning and transforming the tech ecosystem. I believe that there is a lot that can come out from Africa, and we are here, Tech Build Africa, to make sure that that happens. So thank you very much for watching this, and thank you for joining the live event. Irene, it's been amazing to have you on the space.
It's been lovely
I
having
wish
you.
I could end this, but I know we have to skedaddle, okay? Thank you very much, Irene. I hope you have a very lovely day.
You too. You too.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Thank you very much, and see you next time.